Alright, hello. I'll try to keep the introduction short since I've done a guide for last season, but I'm Petri or Petricite. I've been challenger since season 13 with Sylas only, and right now I'm 879 LP challenger, looking for 1k LP after I get my other account to challenger as well. But yeah, I think Sylas changed at least a bit where making another guide seems right, and if item changes next patch change anything, I might make another short video talking about it. But I doubt it'll be too different. Maybe Lichbane's second might become a lot more viable, but nothing crazy. But yeah, let's get on with it. So, for runes, nothing significant has changed, although it's still important to go over as a guide wouldn't be complete without mentioning runes. But there are three options, which main two are Electrocute and Conqueror. We want to go Electrocute, or as I would like to call it, a lane neutralizer rune, as you should go this rune when your matchup is technically not a good early game, so it makes your early laning a lot better, and maybe even winning if you trade efficiently proc Electrocute on cooldown. You usually want to go Electrocute against mainly ranged squishy mages like Hui, Zerath, Vex, Zoe, and etc., as these champions very rarely build HP. And also, before I go too far, I do have a Google Doc linked under the video where I noted over what runes to go against what champions, but it does get more complicated, as I'll explain in a bit in this video. But for Electrocute, this page here is the most optimal sudden impact. Works with you really well since your E and W procs it. Grizzly just becomes just because the rest of the other runes really suck after Eyeball is gone. Relentless, so you can be first to skirmishes or fights happening around the map, although other two optionals are also really valid. So secondary, you'll see this often, but second one has a lot of value against mages overall, as you will get poked a lot early game as a melee champ. I explained it how much value overgrowth brings in the last guide, and I even remember Frink mentioning it very recently, that it's currently really good, a minor rune that they might even nerf it, but I doubt that I actually will. But since your W skills with HP, overgrowth has a lot more value. And lastly, you for the most part want to take just base HP, as early game matters the most than any other part of for Sylas. Another very viable option that's worthy to note is Inspiration with Cookies and Cosmic Insight. I do Inspiration secondary when I know I won't get too much value out of second win or bone plating, usually against like Yone, Yasuo, or some other melee champions, though there isn't really many. Alright, now that I yapped about Electrocute, we have Conqueror, the second main rune choice. Conqueror has a lot better carry potential overall, as you can take over a fight in perfect scenarios, but you can't have it every game or you might get too behind early against mages like the ones I mentioned before. But if your matchup is already good, and if you can get a lead Conqueror really takes over, there are some major matchups I haven't mentioned like Swain, Anivia, Azir, etc., where these champions can build HP to counter burst, is where you want to go Conqueror. Not to mention almost any melee matchup in mid lane, but basically if you think you can prolong the trade, Conqueror is good. Page here for Conqueror is the most optimal. Not much to explain more. I think everything is self-explanatory in here. Inspiration secondary also works here for the same reason, like this. So far, of the two runes I mentioned, while the matchups matter a lot, you have to look at enemy team as a whole. If I see Azir or Ahri on enemy team and they have 3+ squishies, I'm going Electrocute, and if they have 3+ HP stackers, then I'm going Conqueror. But I wouldn't ever go Conquer into something like Zoe or Electrocute against something like Swain. You have to judge it yourself, but that's the general basis, at least. And then we have the very, very situational grasp. It's good against tanky champions, usually actual tanks or top lane bruisers in mid lane, or even in top lane where your early game is not good with either other two main runes, and you know you can stack grass well. They usually include champs like Galio, Scion, or basically any other top laner, but you could in theory go this against any HP stacker champions as well, just not any long range mages. But it's worth it to include in this guide, it's because it is really good, just not many opportunities to use in mid, but I think everything in here is self-explanatory as well. Mana flow is, since you can stack grasp easy, you should be able to stack mana flow easy as well, and you don't really build mana items. But those are the three runes you'll need for mid and even for top lane. Alright, so I'm making this video on patch 25.09, where they are buffing some mage items next patch, but overall, like I said, it should be around the same, but I'll update on if anything. So an actual big note, after the runners, please stop building the item. It's very situational, and even then it's exact opposite of you need to play Sylas in solo queue. I just see the item builds a lot, and I know people love building mana on Sylas, but you have to manage your mana better because that item is really bad, at least right now. I'll explain how to manage the mana better later in the video. But first item will always be Rocket, pretty much always. There are builds like Cosmic into Rift or Cosmic into Bloodletters, but I don't really believe they're optimal or even better than this build, so I won't mention it. But Rocket gives you everything you need, HP, AP, and ability haste, which are bread and butter of Sylas. For boots, it's usually Lucids if you're going Conqueror, and Sorks if you're going Electrocute. But if they have 3+ out attackers and AD, then Steel Caps. And if they have 3+ heavy CC and AP, then Mercs. Pretty much it. So, for second item, however, it gets more complicated. But for Electrocute, you will want Shadow Flame, for the most part. Lich Bane and Storm is also okay, but Storm is very mid after the nerfs, and Lich, while is actually good, if you're going Electrocute, you will want to one-shot people, and Shadow does that better. But Lich does have a better push power if you think that's what you're going to need in that game. For Conqueror, it's usually Cosmic, or very rarely Zonia, where they have a lot of AD and you want to rush it fast. Usually Assassins or ADCs in mid lane. So assuming you don't have Zonia second, your third item will always be Zonia, as it's insanely core item for Sylas that he pretty much can't live without it in mid to late game. And then if the game goes late, you can kind of freestyle it, but Rabadon is a must, and so is Void. If they have Mar, but things like Banshees or Spirit Visage are also not so bad situationally. But that's kind of it with items for now. Matchups I'll kind of gloss over since I have a really long video about matchups already, but this is just to build a mental image of what's usually the deal. But I will say this affects high elo more. If I was to play below Masters, then I would ban something like Malzahar or Galio, because they neutralize the lane pretty hard, so you can't be active on the game. To glass over, I'll start from the top and go bottom. Cass is, I mean, it's a notoriously bad matchup. You really want to go early. Before level 6 is when you have the advantage. Honestly, Conquer is not bad, but I would do Electrocute just so you can try to kill her early game, because after she gets 6, it's really hard. Though, if you do have any ganking jungler, she's really easy to gank to, but again, it's so cute. Most of these matchups are actually like really easy if your jungler looks, but it's not reliable. But yeah, Cass, you have to dodge her Q with your own E, so whenever she Qs, this is gonna happen a lot if you're like below Masters, where they're gonna just Q randomly, and you can dodge it with your E and just engage. So she has no Q and you have free engage. So that's really free. Otherwise, it's Cass. Make sure you're not actually doing the E2 into ult animation cancel combo that I'll explain later, because while you're taking ult, I mean, you're Eing too, honestly. Your character turns towards her, so she can buffer her ult while you're doing that. Though again, if she has to be good to do that, so it really depends. Okay, second, Zoe. After the boss she got, I think it was like this patch or last patch, she is even more annoying. She was already a really bad matchup. This is a lane where you have to just Q-max and try to farm as much as you can with TP. Early game kind of sucks. Late game kind of sucks as well, honestly. Your jungler has to look, but skirmishes or your team has to be kind of winning. But I will say one good thing you can do in this matchup, but some good really Zoyas do know this. When she ults, she's usually going to want to E you right away. So you want to capitalize on that and E after she ults, or you see the E animation after her ult. So you E1 and then E2 to her original ult location. So you get free E2, which is huge. So now you dodge her E and you're now on her, which is really huge. But that's kind of the main mechanic, at least, of this matchup. Rise, I really do hate it. I think it's mainly a high elo thing where like pro players play it really well, like Paul Belter, or that's at least who comes to mind. Really good Rise players will make this lane really hell. Early game is where you want to capitalize. Even then it's kind of rough. He has a TF gold card whenever he wants to use it, so you can E2, and they usually take phase rush, so you can't really chase or do anything. You can W or E2 when they root you, and then they just beat you with their Q. I mean, try to do something early, because the later this goes, he gets more tanky, and then that's even worse. But Ryze is kind of harder to play, I would say, so there might be a lot of bad Ryze players. Yasuo, another one that takes kind of skill in this matchup. A good Yasuo will always space you with their Q. So if they space you with their Q, it's really hard because your W range is not as big as their Q range. But there's also their wind wall, so you can E2. You can use their ult against them if you E2 them, but you can't E2 them, so it is also useless. But he just stat checks you pretty much, just lethal tempo, Q. Yeah, they get bored, you build HP, yeah, the rest is history. You really need the jungler for this one, but it is easy to gank. Vlad is kind of a tricky one. It also needs to be a good Vlad, but if a Vlad does Ignite and Airy, it's a really bad matchup. I done this matchup from Vlad's side, and yeah, if the Vlad is like 80 competent, this matchup shouldn't be ever possible, honestly. I have like tested with Electrocute Ignite in this matchup, which I did like, but you really need to capitalize on early game a lot, because any point of the game, you're just really screwed if you're not ahead. Talia, it's also another notorious counter that a lot of people, I feel like, don't talk about it. I do ban her sometimes because she's one of the most played mid laners in the game, at least in GM Challenger. But early game is also where you want to capitalize. Her walls, generally level 1 to 3 is the most important, but after that kind of is okay. 6 is kind of, after 6 is kind of harder. It gets harder and harder. You do outscale her 1v1, although she has a global ult where she can just go everywhere and you don't. I mean, you can take her ult, but she's also faster because she's always near rocks. So her roam powers is insanely strong. So you do have to trade against her a lot, so she can't really go anywhere, at least full HP, to help her team. But for the most part, you want to keep going in and try to get good trades. I would do Qmax or even W is also okay, but blow your combo fast, so before you get knocked over by her thing. But you can buffer her W, I think, the Rock Fling, with your E2. It is kind of hard to time, but it is possible. Heimer, very rarely I ever see it. There's like, I don't know, 3 Heimer OTPs in Hyla, maybe a little more, but all of them played top lane. It's just a really annoying matchup. Honestly, there's not a lot of counterplay you can do against this. Just try to farm with Qmax, maybe poke them if they try to go in on you, but wait for your jungler or try to go late game. They can't really team fight that well, so just go for objectives. Now I'm going to the hard category. Galio is actually my second champion, and I might even play him more because Sylas gets banned quite often, or just blind picking Sylas is really not optimal in high-elo. Although Galio, honestly, if Galio knows what they're doing, for the most part they won't. They usually pick it to counter Sylas. They just know it's a good matchup. But Galio does actually take some skill. Maybe bias, but if you dodge Galio's E, they're actually really screwed. So always save your E for Galio's E. Don't ever E in. Like I explained, Grasp is actually really head-in good in this matchup, so you can neutralize early game a bit more, and you're not like giga weak against them. But if he ever gets ahead somehow and he builds Amar, it's kind of done at that point, unless like you got 3 items where you can like build Bloodletter, I don't know, Riftmaker, Cosmic, stuff like that, where it is good 1v1 power. But for the most part, he's just gonna be always a neutralizing pick. Like his ult is really good because you're a dive champion. He gives shields to everybody. MR shield, he has insane MR. He's just a better champion than you in every way, at least like compared to just one for one. But yeah, that's mainly what you would do. But yeah, don't really go in with E, and that's the main thing. Just dodge his E with your own E. Akshan is a hard one. Akshan is just really good champion, honestly, but no one plays it because, I mean, I guess he is hard and people don't like it. I'm not too sure. So early game is rough. You could try to kind of ego it and do Ignite. It does work if early game goes okay. You have to dodge his Q, then you can kind of engage with E. Level 1, you never go in. Level 2 is still risky. Level 3 is like when you can start looking. But if everything is even, at level 9, you should start winning. You do outskill him really hard 1v1. But this is solo queue. He will always go to bot lane or something and get some kills. That's just how Akshan works, and honestly, probably never fails. So if everything goes right, though, it is pretty good. You do want to trade against him because so he doesn't roam somewhere with full HP. Your roam power is okay, but compared to Akshan, it's not even funny. Okay, so Corki. Corki, you won't really see this other than like challengers. Corki is actually still really good, really annoying. Honestly, kind of a better Akshan in some parts, but it really doesn't really go anywhere. Corgis never roam anywhere, so you kind of want to roam instead of them. But you generally want to, you can do Q or W, try to farm. Level 3, you can go dodge their Q with your Oni. Although, for the most part, this lane, from my experience, nothing will much really happen. It's going to be like 0-0-0 for both mid laners, and you're going to be down like, I don't know, 20 CS at worst. And you just kind of do odd scale them in a team fight. He's still an ADC, mobile ADC, and Corki doesn't scale that good, at least if he doesn't get ahead. So just try to go even, and you should be fine, unless you really believe in yourself and you can do electrocute or ignite or stuff like that. And Nivea also tricky, very OTP champ. There's few ways to play against Anivia. You can do Q max, W max, both kind of works. You can do Q with ignite, try to go for early, though I will say they usually take ignite and electrocute, so I would also match that with electrocute, because if you do conquer, your early game is way too bad and you will not really get the farm. Try to dodge their Q either with movement or E. You can buffer your E2 to their Q, but yeah, it's not that bad of a matchup, though it's definitely on the harder side and Anivia favorite. LeBlanc is a tricky one. Honestly, the biggest part of LeBlanc is tracking what ability she last used, so when you take her ult, it's her W, or even chains is also really good. But whenever she early game she W's onto you, you want to straight just W. You can even start W. I sometimes do that because they start W as well, so they W to proc electrocute, like auto W auto, so you want to W right away, and you can even get a electrocute proc maybe if they stay onto you a bit more. Otherwise, like I said, the ult one is the most important. Try to see if she used W. Taking Q, her Q is the worst option, I mean, obviously, so just track it. Nafiri, I actually haven't faced that many times in mid lane, at least. Everyone plays her in jungle, and even if there are some players who play her in mid lane, it gets banned like every other game. So, but the only time I did play against her, it was kind of the same matchup. It's really bad again still. Her ult got a lot better for you, so there is that part. But try to not get hit by both Qs, and try to hit your E's. That's like the best advice I can give. If you can do that, you should win. But her dogs exists that will block your E2s, which makes it a lot harder. So I would usually farm and see if she messes something up, and then go in. Aurora, her ult is really good. Early game is really bad. She will do electrocute. I would just like not go in until level 3. It's like a Vayne in mid lane. So try to, like I said, not go in until level 3. Get good trades on your side of the tower, or she can kind of run you down with auto attacks. She does get fast from her passive, or I think it was Q now. Either way. But you do outscale her. Akali kind of the same thing. Early game just sucks really hard. It really depends how good the Akali is, but I personally really don't like this matchup. Some people maybe do, but it used to be a really even matchup. Right now, I think it's very Akali favored overall. She's just really annoying. You can't really go in when she has Shroud. You can't really go in if she has E2s. There's so many moments where you can't go in that it's just all in her. And if you ever try to push a wave while they're not in lane, but they're looking for it on the side, you will die. If you don't have E and you're in the middle of the lane, they will literally one-shot you with just ult. So that happened quite a lot. I think that's the main thing. I don't know why every Akali unanimously just likes cheesing in a bush in mid lane. They make you think they either based or roamed, and then they just appear and then just ult you after you use E. to just kill you. So be careful. Early game does suck, but after like 2-3 items in team fights, you're a lot more useful. Just make sure she doesn't get too ahead. Talon mid, you won't see that often, although he has insanely high based MR, so that's the main thing. Just try to not do too many trades honestly early game, because like he's so tanky that it's usually not worth it. You can try to poke him with Q. Just don't get hit by his passive. Don't get hit by Q, his second part of Q. I mean W, and you're pretty fine. Just his passive is his main damage, really. But don't be too close. His auto attack reset with Q also does so much damage. Pantheon mid also used to be a notorious counter. It's still kinda is, just no one plays it. I like kind of Q-Max against this because he's pretty beefy and very slow. As a champion, it's really easy to hit Qs on him, and W doesn't really matter anyway. He blocks with his E. But you want to do pokes because short trades kind of don't work against him since he has E. Honestly, yeah, I don't really hate this matchup that much. Just Q him slowly and chunk him out, and at some point he will die. But be careful of his Q range, and if he's gonna W into you, you buffer with E1. So he W's onto you, and when you see the animation, you E away. So he has to walk up again, which makes a big difference. You can also buffer with E2, there's that, but yeah. So 50-50s. Malzahar, honestly, I would put it even above 50-50, but Malzahar is a weird champ. He can't really carry the game, really, but he will make sure that the lane is neutralized, and you can't ever really kill him. I don't really... I guess I don't play against a lot of Malzahars, like, ever, but when I do, I can't really imagine a scenario or, like, think of a time I did really solo kill a Malzahar, because they're so safe in lane. They don't really let you get onto them, and when you do, they have a shield, and you can't really keep short trading. You have to one-shot them, which is really hard because they're always in their side of the tower, so that will really never happen. So I would just do Q-Max, even do Conquer, just so you can scale a bit, and just take his ult and try to go somewhere. I'm pretty sure you can take his ult even when he has spell shield, and it takes his spell shield off, and you still take the ult. So that's one good thing. Although that's kind of it. It's just a really boring matchup. The most boring matchup I can think of. It's just literally the most farming fast matchup ever. That's why I usually ban it, just because it puts me to sleep IRL. It's so bad. Okay, Azir. Azir is actually bad, and I should have put it bad, since this is a high elo tier list, more like. But since Azir is currently the best mid laner in the game, at least in Challenger, like you would hear this by a lot of other people. Early game, it's not the worst. I honestly take Electrocute with Ignite in this matchup now, just so you can do something early game, because when they get their 6, they will always buffer their ult when you're E2ing, a good Azir will. So when you're E2ing, they're gonna ult you away to their tower, so it's GG. And they're always gonna play on their side of the lane, because they have so much range. So there's just literally no winning after level 6. You can buffer their ult with E2, but you can't get that close at that point. Like, you can E1, then W, and then see if they're gonna react with W, their ult, and then you can still try to buffer their ult with your E2. Doesn't always work, and you usually have to E2 because they play for so much range, which makes it really awkward. So you can trade. I think a bad Azir will never do that anyway, and I doubt a lot of people will even play against Azir, but yeah, just my 2 cents on it. Ahri. This used to be very 50-50, and kind of still is 50-50. You can do both Conquer and Electrocute against her, honestly. The one good about Conquer is that her ult gives you stacks, which you have 3 of them, so that is good. Although early game is just... she might be the most aggressive mid laner in this whole list, in like level 1 to 3. Her W, Electrocute proc, just auto, W auto, is insanely strong, takes no mana from her, and does so much damage. I don't know why, but it is there. Each trade that won't even, like, it'll be even, but you're Sylas, so it's kind of crazy that it is even. So I would usually not go on level 1. Level 3 is like where you can go in. One big thing of this is you can buffer your E2 to her charm. So charm is coming, you get the idea. Yeah, after level 6 it gets a lot better. Before level 6 it's really bad. Just kind of try to play safe. W is kind of free because she can dodge your Q a lot with her own ult. Vex is said to be bad, but I played against a lot of Vexes, like good Vexes like Quantum as well. There's some Vex OTPs in GM2, I think there's like at least one. The matchup is bad, like I said, but I think it is okay if you can dodge her fear. If she fears you, like if you're a Q fear, then you can go in. Just dodge it with your E and then go in. A lot of bad Vexes will do that. Some good Vexes will actually always hold the fear and just literally auto attack you to death, because they know you can't really come up to them, or they'll fear you with W. At that point, you can just Q-Max. I would do Q-Max on this either way, because you want to one-shot her. Just try to poke her with Q. Don't let her come too close to you. They'll literally walk up to you just to get a guaranteed fear with W. But her W fear is what you're afraid of. Just know that, and this matchup is free. Like, actually. I really take a lot of skill on her part as well. I can't really imagine a time I didn't really have too much bad of a time. They usually do outscale you just because they build Borg and maybe like Hullbreaker, then you literally cannot play against it, even if she's like 0-10. So try to win early for sure. If you don't win early, goodbye to your LP. It's not that bad. Dodge her E with your own E. Her ult has some good AP ratios, so that's good. But yeah, main thing is just dodge her E. And be careful of her full stacks. Don't let her auto-attack you to death on her side of the tower. Syndra is a tricky one. Honestly, I would put it more the hard one. Just because a lot of Syndras know the trick of the buffer. So the buffer is in this matchup is always on their side. If you E2, okay, on your side too sometimes, but a good Syndra will always be on their side. Where you E2 onto them and they will hold their E to E after your chain land. Can be on top of them, but again, the same thing with Talia, Azir, Syndra. With these kind of champions, you really can't be on top of them with just E. Or they're just spacing really bad. Like if just a single E1 is enough to be on top of them and E1 like W, then the Syndra is bad. So you have to E2 onto them to get a trade, which makes this hard. You can kind of like try to scare them, hold E2 until like last tick of second, a millisecond, and then E2 away, because they'll kind of panic if you're getting too close. But yeah, her ult is like very mid. Q-Max is kind of okay. For the most part, it's a farm matchup. Just dodge her E with your own E if she's just randomly trying to poke you in lane. But yeah, it's pretty kind of like straightforward, but kind of not to do much lane. I don't hate it though. Victor got some changes, which makes early game a lot worse. Early game, you can't really do too much. And Victor is a weird one. They sometimes take Grasp, they sometimes take Airy, they sometimes take other stuff. So it kind of depends, but early game is kind of bad. The mid to late game is kind of where you shine if he doesn't get a lot of his passive thing, which they usually don't. So try to look for trades about after level 6 even. His 6 ult is really good actually on you. But before 6, it's really hard to do anything. You can even Doran's Shield just to like farm. You can do Conqueror, because early game, you can't really do too much. He has too much shields, he takes Bone Plating. There's not a lot of counterplay. Diana's a tricky one. Diana's actually really good. Just no one plays her. It's hard to explain this matchup. Just no one plays it. But if she gets ahead, it's impossible. If you get ahead, you can just stat check her. I would do W max with Conqueror. If she doesn't have Ignite, then it's really free. I would do Ignite against her though. Try just not get hit by her Q. You can even do second wind. But if she hits Q and then does full combo, then the E's again onto you, then it's really bad. She can literally one-shot you after level 6. So just be careful of that. I say this a lot, but this is also a tricky one. Just because these are kind of like OTP champions, and every OTP champion plays the matchup differently. If you don't get hit by his full combo of like W into both shurikens and E, then you're chilling, honestly. But a good Zed will actually hit those, so just E away when he Ws. If he's ulting you, E, then E2 to your back, because he always appears to your back of the champion. So you get a free E2 and just a knock-up. And I usually like having his ult and ulting after he uses Qs to dodge his Q, which is his main sort of damage. But yeah, Kassadin, you don't see like ever anymore, honestly. But try electrocute, try to fight early game. I mean, I think it's kind of obvious. Yon is, again, tricky one. Because it's actually Yon favored, but a lot of Yons are not good at the game. If he ever gets to scale to Bork or 2 items, bye-bye. Same with Yasuo, it's just, you can't do anything. He just stat checks you deluxe. But before that, I would do Electrocute Ignite to just try to fight early. You can even do Q. It's kind of easy to hit Qs on him. When he Q2s, it's really obvious where he's gonna land. So I like Qing like then. It's easy Q2 proc. But his ult is good. You can E2 and then his ult is guaranteed ult for you. Try to dodge his Q2 when he's Eing. Stuff like that. Don't take exchange trades as another thing. On his side of tower, he will definitely run you over. Orianna is kind of very mid as 50-50s go. Her early game is annoying, especially if she does Airy. You can kind of take advantage if it's a bad Orianna. A good Orianna will just freeze the wave on you and just farm. That's literally what they'll do. But you are better out of lane usually, unless she's like really ahead. But even then, Orianna is just not a good solo queue champion overall. But if she's ever playing on your side of the tower, it's really free. You can just keep engaging, and she's very more immobile. Also very susceptible to ganks. Kuei is just a better Orianna in every way. Really annoying poke. I said left to right matters, but I guess I haven't changed everything, because Kuei is definitely harder than some of these champions. But Kuei poke is really annoying. Same thing, they will keep their wave on their side, and they'll honestly just one-shot the wave and then poke you. That's all they do under your tower. But if you can buffer your E2 to their fear, it's huge. But again, Cinder thing, they also know you can do that. So most ways will wait until you E2 and then do it, because they can hold it forever. You can hold your E2 forever. He has a timer. So there is that. His ult is really good. His ult into Q is actually really good, because he gets really slowed and Q is free. Xerath is also another one of those where you won't really interact with him. He just Qs away from so far, so you can't ever really get close to him. You can try to E2 him, but even then, that's not enough range. So for the most part, just farm, look somewhere else. Veigar's played really safe after a while. After like level 6 and kind of like maybe 9 onwards, they just don't play the game. Same with Airline Soul, I'll mention, but you want to do something early with Electrocute. Try to just keep trade on your side of the tower. Just trade. His ult is good. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Annie got some changes, but I haven't played against her after the changes. I don't know how good she is. I think she's pretty bad still. Her ult is good. Try to buffer her stun with your E2. Yeah, that's kind of it. I would go like after level 3, but even level 1 is fine. You can go whenever if you have Electrocute, honestly. Just try to hit E. Echo is a pretty easy matchup. His ult is really good. A good Echo though, early game does suck before level 6. You can do Q or W, but they're too fast to hit Q. But then W, generally, they always get a better short trade. Their full combo does more damage than your full combo, because you can't hit Q again. They're too fast. But yeah, you generally just stat check them after level 6. Katarina, depends how good they are. A good Katarina will do AD and start Conqueror with Ignite. Then it's a really big problem. But if they do AP and not Ignite and not Conqueror, I mean, they have to do Conqueror at that point. But if they don't check those 3 boxes, they're literally just the most walking minion ever. Just W her when she comes close. Don't stain her daggers. It's pretty basic, honestly. Just hit E2. You can even save your E2 to when she ults. Her ult does apply grievous wounds, so be careful. And always take fights that you know you will win. If it's in her tower and she's fed enough that she can one-shot you, just don't do it. Yes, in team fights you're actually not bad. If you have any CC in your team, it's pretty easy to keep a cat shut down. But if it is a good cat, I would put it between like easy to hard category. It really depends. Kiana is also depends on how good she is. Very snowball matchup. Whoever is ahead will just roll over the other one. Her ult is really good. You can one-shot her. She can one-shot you. Try to dodge her Qs in lane with just Eing away. Honestly, your HP is more important than your mana. But yeah, kind of, in a way, it's a pretty straightforward matchup, honestly. Lux is weird. After level 6, they don't really play the lane anymore. They just ult the wave and go away. So just try to farm away with Qmax and try to look other lanes for the most part. But if you can't go in her, you can buffer her ult with your own E2 to one-shot her, which is good. Swain is only on easy and not free because him now taking Aerie actually hurts really bad. Before level 6, this matchup is really bad because he does so much damage. You can't really sustain that much damage with his own ult because they also nerfed his ult. You don't even heal that much anymore from just one person. But it's still good. If you can survive early, it's pretty free. He doesn't scale that good in team fights. If you have his ult, you're just a better him. Ziggs, you will never see him. Same with Xerath. Literally just same with Xerath. Free category, Lissandra is one of my favorite matchups. Her ult makes Qmax really easy and reliable, and you can just one-shot her. Lissandra ult is really goated as well. I really love using Lissandra ult. She is annoying if she's good because she can W, which makes you not be able to E2 or E or W. You wanna do your full combo, or so you wanna E in and not be in her W range, then E2, and then you're onto her. At that point, W right away, and then Q, then auto attacks. At that point, you used everything. She's gonna W, but you're just auto attacking, so you're chilling. Like some of these matchups, it really depends. Some of these matchups, you really wanna hit Q first, so you will E2 then Q. But in some scenarios like these, you will E2 then W, just so you want to get your W off because you can't use it, right? They won't let you use it. So ASOL early game is good. Level 1 kind of is sus, or level 1, 2, 3, because they can kind of run you over. But if you have Electrocute, I would always go in, proc it, go under minions so he can kill you. They, after like level 6, 9, they kind of just don't play the game, they just farm. It kind of depends whose team is winning, because I mean he'll always farm. You can't just dive him. I would do Qmax, so it's really easy to hit Q on him. Yeah, I hope you win team fights. But for the most part, again, in lane it's pretty free. Fizz is a pretty easy matchup. Just don't get hit by his E. Just E away when he's Eing. Always save your E for that, and just W if he is close up. Pretty much it. Dodge his ult as well. He can hide his ult animation through his Q, so be careful. Generally, when you play against Fizz, their enemy jungler will camp you, so be careful. Twisted Fate is also another matchup I like, because his ult is really good on you as well. You can just follow up. If he ever ults, you can just go in as well. And if it's a 2v2 situation, you should win. If the situation is even, pretty much. Gold card, you can buffer with your E2. Just try not to get poked too much in lane. But if you have Electrocute, literally just go in, even with Conqueror. You can do QW, both works. But yeah. It's a pretty good matchup, I would say. But I think that's about it. I don't know if I missed anything. I might have very specific combos, but if I were to explain everything, I'd be here too long. And also, I already have, like I mentioned, a matchup video that's like almost 2 hours long or something. That should be up to date. So if you guys are curious, there is that. But yeah. Right, I didn't have this section in my last guide, but for summoner spells, since Ignite got a lot better with TP being worse this season and Hump Guard kicking in early, and also they buffed the Ignite dispatch, I would go Ignite most games, but where you think it's going to be a farm fest like Huey, Zoe, Heimer, Syndra, Malzahar, etc. And the very early game is really bad, and you have to survive to mid game to outscale them, like LeBlanc or Ahri. Stuff like that is also when you rather do TP instead. Another big thing is max order. There's honestly a lot of options like Q into W max, Q into E, or W into Q, or W into E. But for the most part, you only do Q max if you're against a Farmfest matchup, which is either a long range mage, so you need the one-shot power the only time you can go on them, or push waves as you can't interact with it much, so you can create tempo with Qmax. But I like it against just overall champs, like it's easy to hit, like Yon, or even some top champs like Pantheon, Set, or God in mid lane. Make it easy to land and safe poke, as you can't really 1v1 them up close with like full HP. Although for the majority of the time, and honestly every OTP, but maybe other than me, does 2 points into Q into E max. As it does get confusing when you max 2 different abilities every other game, and if you're OTPing this champion, you want consistency above else. But it's not maximized if you do that every game. However, chances are if you are W maxing, unless really W heavy lane like Kiana, Diana, or even LeBlanc, you will want to do 2 or even 3 points in Q, so you're not really delaying your W max, and you have early game damage and wave clear to fight and push waves. So lastly, but maybe most importantly, some basic Sylas mechanics and macro and how to manage mana. I'll gloss over this as well, or I would be here for 2 more hours. I might do coaching sessions to explain this more to people personally, but overall, you want to only use your auto attacks to last hit. You might need to practice, but sometimes Q is fine. Then you want to reset the wave or push it, but don't full combo it unless you need to hard push it. Using W or E on the wave is really sus, as they cost a lot of mana, and those mana could have been spent on enemy champion instead. Usually as Sylas, you're not aiming for 10 CS per minute anyway. If anything, the average will look like 7 or 8 at the best. So don't stress with CSing always, and instead look for E angles so you can trade with enemy instead. Another thing is that you usually want to take trades when the wave is either under your tower or your side of the lane, about like here. Depends on the matchup. However, if you're playing against a DPS champ like Yasuo or Cass and you trade in their side around here, then you will get run over slowly and then you have no ability left, so be careful because they will just kill you. The best time to trade is when your early wave crashes in your tower and you get level 2 or 3 from it. And then it's best to engage, as minion wave won't attack you if they're focused on the tower. You might lose a couple minions from doing that, but it's 100% always worth taking that trade. About when minions hit in here. They hit the tower and you can engage then. That's the one enemy expects to trade the least as well. Lastly, one mechanic I will mention that it is the E buffer. If your E2 lands after you get hit by a CC, you get pulled anyway. It's hard to time sometimes, but something like a TF gold card is easy to react. You should E2 after it's already coming. You can even buffer a 0 ult, cast ult, Talia W, and so many more if you time it right. But it's really important to do. Otherwise, you can steal ults while E2 animation, like this.
I'll make good use of this.
And you can even W if you're close enough, like this. Only way to make Q more reliable to hit is also to spam Q after your E2 finishes, like this. Otherwise, that's it. With all this info, you're a Sylas pro now. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments or have any questions, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!